Yeah.
So that was how many weeks ago now? Two,
Oh, that was like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And how much you weighing now?
You don't even, you don't even want to know. The the post contest binge is real.
Yeah. I
What
think
would you
everybody's
guess?
first one has got to be. I don't know if I've heard of anybody who hasn't had a significant rebound.
Hmm.
I
Well,
mean, nowadays they kind of say, what were you
what
gonna say?
estimation, like what have you heard on average? What's typical?
What's typical for people to gain post?
Yeah.
I mean, you get some people who at the extreme end, you're talking like 40 pounds. Um, I would guess just like trying to look at your body. I mean, I'm only seeing like,
You can't
shoulders
really
up.
tell.
Yeah, I don't
I'm not
know,
contesting. Nowhere near. Even the veins.
170 maybe.
Yeah, yeah, about that. I gained the thing is there's water weight in there too.
Yeah,
So
sure, of
without the
course.
water weight, yeah, about 170. I probably gained 20 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without the water weight.
Without the water weight. With the water weight, 175.
Okay.
And
Yeah, yeah.
it's crazy for me to even say that because that's where I was at months ago.
Yeah.
But this also comes with fast rebound and strength. And the reason why I did that, I could have done a reverse diet. The discipline was there, but it was more so I didn't want to feel like that anymore.
Sure.
When I say being shredded is a nightmare, I can't even I need to continue speaking against this. Obviously, I did a bodybuilding competition without the assistance of drugs. So this was the only possibility. I don't know what my T levels were at. I don't know what my if I would have gotten the blood test done, the doctor probably would have freaked out. Like, what is going on with you?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I can tell you I had low blood pressure. I think it was 108 over 58, something like that. So both values were
Yeah.
not in a good range. And I was like a couple weeks out. It got even lower as I progressed. So,
What is your blood pressure normally?
oh, well, 110 over 70, that's like your optimal
Yeah,
zone.
sure.
Usually around that zone, a little bit higher actually. I'm
Yeah.
actually on average, I tend to be um like slightly elevated, like above that 110 over 70.
Okay. Yeah, I
Like I
mean,
have to
110
work
over
really
70 is
hard.
great.
I have to eat perfect to get my numbers where they should be.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sensitive
yeah.
like that.
I'm very responsive in a negative way to like blood pressure changes when I diet.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. Like libido and blood pressure and just heart rate in general all change dramatically for me. Like I'll get
Mm,
warnings on my Apple Watch all the time. You've gone 10 minutes with your heart rate below 40, and like, it'll just kind of like warn me.
really?
Oh yeah. Brian Borstein gets the same thing. Lightheaded, like I'll get orthostatic hypotension, which is when you stand up and you get kind of lightheaded.
Yep.
I get that
Yep.
constantly. So like when I was really young, I was like, 130 pounds. I get that every time I stood up. There's one
Yeah.
time it came on faster than I expected. I was like 14, 15. And I stood up out of my bed and I just lost consciousness for a second and I fell into this like big stereo system I had. I mean, it was like literally half a second, but it was enough for me to lose control. And I was like, Jesus, man.
Darn.
Like I was very skinny, very underfed at the time. So it's real.
Wow. So
Yeah.
when you say like having an Apple Watch can be helpful in making sure you don't injure
Uh,
yourself in situations like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm as anybody who's listened to podcasts knows, I'm extremely analytical. I keep that on everything. So because of that, I don't actually love the style of the Apple Watch, but it gives
It's
me
just the
so much
numbers.
data. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of cool to see it, and I don't think most people need it. I mean, I think it's superfluous. I just like to see it. So for that reason, I have it, and the step count, all that stuff is kind of cool to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So do you think you'll compete again?
You know,
Too soon to say.
it's like yes and no. Part of me wants to do it. Like I'd like to, especially if I can brush up on certain things, because you can see what your real muscular weaknesses are when you get
Mhm.
stage lean. Before that, I mean, you have an idea, but you can't confirm it.
Yeah.
And what I discovered, I kind of already knew, but my top three worst body parts are biceps, hamstrings, and calves, but especially my hamstrings. I might have had the smallest hamstrings on stage.
Really?
Yep. And that's despite doing a 455 for 9 RDL.
Wow.
So all the powerlifters saying that hinges are enough. No, it's not. I only started doing leg curls during my contest prep. And if I
Mm.
didn't, they would have looked even worse on stage.
Wow.
So I got to bring those up big time. And my posing, it needs a lot of work. Because I'm extremely stubborn and I went in all this all by myself. I didn't hire a posing coach. I didn't hire anybody so I just learned by myself watching videos. So if I can fix that up, work on some of these extra muscle groups, right? Maybe come in 155 stage ready, I mean, I think that would be hardcore. But the thing is, if
Yeah.
I compete again, I see two possibilities: either classic physique, same thing, CPA at the Mike Clément, or WMBF with the big boys.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
I can try to become a natural pro or something.
Yeah. It's
But
awesome.
bodybuilding would only be with them because I'm not here to be a bad sport, but specifically in the bodybuilding category of where I was at, there were a lot of fake natties.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Visible gyno, injection marks. Anyone with two functioning eyeballs can see these guys were not legit. So I don't want to, if
I
I'm doing
competed against you in
bodybuilding,
classic or just the bodybuilding
just
aspect?
the bodybuilding division. For some reason, the classic guys look fine, but I don't know why. The bodybuilders, I can't
Interesting.
explain it.
Did they do testing? I mean, obviously testing's not super rigorous, but
It's they could have taken SARMs in the off season or whatever,
sure.
but some guys got pulled out. But the ones who were really
Really?
sus, yeah, I think like 5 guys got tested. But the ones who should have actually been tested,
Oh,
with
just
like
tested,
many
not
medals
pulled
around
out,
their neck,
like
they should
removed.
have been tested on the spot. But for
Yeah,
some,
yeah, yeah.
so
But when you say they got pulled out, you mean pulled out to test or pulled out of the competition because they tested positive?
I think both.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
one guy literally got disqualified, but
Oh,
he
wow.
he he looked like Michael Hearn. It was,
Yeah.
what are you doing showing up here?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, man. I mean, I guess it happens all the time. It's just strange. Like, I mean, there's a whole set of organizations out there for enhanced competitors. It's different when like most sports, that's not an option, right?
That's
So
right.
like honestly, if you're a movie star or you're NFL, like I kind of expect that you're going to be taking something, whatever. But and I don't mean to like just pass it off as no big deal to be using. I understand it. But like with bodybuilding, I mean, you have these clear divisions. Just do the right division.
I don't understand it because there's no money to be made in this. You
Right.
lose a lot of money. You're spending hundreds of dollars just to compete. And most of these guys, they just do local shows. They're not social media influencers. You go on the profiles, they maybe have like 1,000 or 2,000 followers, something like that. They're
Yeah.
not big, and they just work out at some, you know, they're the big man in their local gym.
Right.
So it's like, what are you doing? And it's very insulting because we worked very hard to get to that point. We suffered. And when I see these dudes backstage full of energy and life, and they're looking like on a
Hmm.
different level, it's like, I want to swear so bad right now, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that to you.
Sure.
It's just, it's insulting.
Sure.
And I saw, I'm not the only one to point this out. Some of the guys I was with are like, come on. Like, you can see the disappointment on their face.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. So, in terms of how quickly to bulk back up, like I said, I'd say that that's pretty common. And like for your height and weight and everything, I think what you did getting up to 170 makes sense. Did you feel like I guess when I think of, or actually maybe a broader point to make would be that, on the aspect of homeostasis and the body wanting to return, some people they say, oh, there's no set point, there's no settling point, there's, your body,
Mm,
you could just hold on to anything. And the reality is, it is amazing and consistently amazes me how much my body, clients' bodies, a lot of bodies will try to stay at a certain point roughly. Obviously,
yep.
calories in versus calories out matters. Obviously, you can force things to happen. But like for me, it is so easy for me to maintain 195, for example, right? Getting down to 185, not terribly difficult. Getting down below 180, very difficult, right? But even in the other direction, I'm now going up to over 200 pounds. And I'm actually amazed by how much I can just eat, quote unquote, whatever I want. And it's just like, wow, I just like my hunger mechanisms are just crashed, right?
Yep.
Like I just feel never hungry. I'm just constantly like feeling, even though the calories might not be that much more, my body is fighting it. So it feels like I'm eating so much more. Versus if I'm heavily dieted, I could have, 2 days of cheating and it's like, holy crap, I just gained like 7 pounds,
Yeah.
and I'm sure obviously you're experiencing something similar.
It's exactly the same experience. It's also like diet fatigue. When you've been suffering for months, it's easy to binge immediately after. Like, it's no coincidence that many natural bodybuilders can put on 20, 30 pounds after a comp. Normally, that would be impossible. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm just lean, generally, I'm not even gonna gain 5 pounds in a month, even if I try to bulk my
Yeah.
life away. But after being shredded, it's a joke. And then there's the opposite extreme, trying to push your body weight to a slightly higher level. You oftentimes have to force feed.
Yeah.
So I do agree with the body fat set point. Over the years, you figure out what that range is, and usually for me, it's that sweet spot, 15-20% body fat,
Right.
165 to 181. I find when I hit the 190s, I gotta drink a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just getting those liquid calories in, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not.
Imagine somebody said to you, okay, now in a month, go from 190 to 210. It's impossible, right? Almost
No, you'd have
impossible.
to go, man. That would be the only way that can work.
Right.
But if you go from 160 to 170 and not even a month, that's doable. So
Sure.
how's that happen? You know, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not really an expert on this topic, but
Well, it's something that, I mean, obviously we're going to have a range of listeners here, from people who are totally new to people who have been listening for a long time. But for people who are curious about that, I mean, obviously part of it is water weight, right? So if you're already at like
yes,
190 in your example, you're kind of at a maximum amount of water weight, right? I mean, not that you couldn't gain more, but compared to this first
true.
20 or so pounds, huge amount of water weight, right? Your step count slows down dramatically when you're really dieted, right? Versus your body fighting back. You've maybe seen the studies where they overfed people by like 900 to 1,000 calories, and some people actually didn't gain any weight at all, and other
Yeah,
people gained a
because your
ton of
need.
weight. Your
Exactly.
need, yeah, variations in need. I always find the hunger thing most interesting, because most people who say they have a fast metabolism or slow metabolism, there's not that much variation within humans of a given body weight. Not that there's no variation,
Mm-hmm.
but if we're talking about like base metabolism, not dramatically different. The biggest differences are, again, the movement throughout the day and hunger. It's so common for people to think that if they're obese, that they don't
Yep.
eat that much, right? Or if they're really skinny, that they eat all the time.
Hunger is the most important factor. And I called that out years ago.